And we're back.
Okay. Well, having said that, the first question I'd like to ask is, does the youth get a feel that their parents actually screwed it up for the country? I mean, not necessarily your parents. I mean, your elders. Do you get the feel that the country is in right now because of the fact that they actually screwed up their jobs? Anybody?
Well, from my perspective, I have an inkling on who screwed it up, but it may not necessarily be our parents.
Well, no, not as I said, not necessarily your parents, but more of kasi one of the things that you said was apathy and probably the cynicism. Yeah. Perhaps could the reason be for the apathy is because of the fact that, well, why are we supposed to clean up after you? I mean, you did all of this, the dictatorship, the corruption. This was not done by the youth. This was done by your elders. And what would the youth think about that?
Well, as was mentioned a while ago, during their times, they had that stimulus to really act. This whole idea that there was martial law or that their lives were actually in danger. But for us right now, well, I'd have to say that the threat, it's hindi ganun kagrabe compared sa kanila. Nowadays, well, we don't have martial law.
But in essence, what you're saying, Tuloy, is if I'm correct, essentially is that, okay, fine, you guys may not have been tested in the way they're tested, pero in a what's that Filipino movie, Tinimbang pero nang kulang. Wouldn't you say that's an apt description of your elders, the ones that have gone ahead of you, Jemima?
I don't think that we can actually blame them. I mean,
who are you gonna blame?
No.
Si Luke.
Because I do agree with Miss Jemima here that it's really not fair to blame the generation before us. It's more of because the Philippines right now, in the Philippine context, we are on the stage of reform. There is that sense of change in the Philippines, and in terms of that sense of reform, it's up to us. It's up to us na para ayusin kung ano man yung nangyari before. Yeah. But we can't blame that to the other generation.
Yeah, I'm sure they
Jemima and then si JV.
Yeah, I'm sure someone asked them that same question during that time, and I'm sure they would say, we can't blame our parents because certainly it's our time now to do something.
Well, if I may be provocative about it, is that, well, they keep saying naman, look at the youth right now, parang they're doing nothing. So can't you go back and say, kayo naman nag-screw up nito, not us?
Well, it's not really about blaming it, but it's more of objectively identifying the root cause. And probably the merit of what you're saying, Sir Gemma, is that they still have, for one, with regard our political institutions, the higher generation still has that notion that they still fear a very strong government because they always they always think that it will come up with another dictatorship. Mm-hmm. So I think that is, in essence, probably not their weak. It's not something that should be blamed upon them, but it's something that can be attributed to their experience.
Okay.
Jemma, you were saying earlier that it seems that the youth of today is not doing anything. But I guess it's more of asking, how did you know? How do you know that the youth is not doing anything? It's more of looking at the media. Because the media right now is trying to portray things like political instability, chaos, problems, etc. But do they portray the youth of today doing something for their fellow citizens? No. But when you go outside of the media, if you go to provinces, if you go to Mindanao, if you go to Visayas, you can see a lot of young people helping their fellow citizens. Like for me, I've been volunteering for this organization. We call it the Philippine Center for Civic Education. It's tied up with our university, and I was able to see and observe how the youth of today able to help their co-citizens by educating young individuals, students from high school, elementary, attend these seminars on civic education, on crafting policies for their barangays. You can see mayroon nga mga projects doon yung mga bata, mga elementary and high school on how to improve kahit yung traffic lang, yung simple traffic sa barangay nila. As simple as those. Those are civic participation.
That's good. That's correct. But if I could just move on, and you mentioned the media, one of the things that the media keeps portraying is the fact that the youth today are essentially sex crazed. people who don't. And no to the parents, I will not ask them anything about sex. But the thing here is that, don't you feel that the media seems to be making some sort of an assumption that they could manipulate the needs of the youth, and hence, by projecting a certain type of lifestyle, it's something that they could actually be imposing on the youth as well. JV? Okay.
Well, let's be honest or be blunt about it.
Meaning, di tayo honest kanina.
No, I mean, we are, but this is a bit quite sensitive. So, let's admit, sex sells. That's why the media really, well, not entirely the entire sector of the media, but some sectors who really craving for that profiteering, would really pounce on it. And unfortunately, the effect of that kind of marketing or branding or positioning is very subtle. That's why it can, some people may not notice it creeping already in their minds. But apparently, there are still other ways in which media can actually probably turn it around.
Well, just to put it this way, into more practical terms, obviously the youth plays probably the biggest demographic that we have right now. And hence the big push, for example, for advertisers and for pharmaceuticals to push their contraceptive agenda. What would be your opinion on that? What do you think should be? I mean, there's the surveys, and there's the advertisers, and there's this conception or appearance that they have, or thoughts that they have on the youth with regard to contraception. But directly from you, I'd like to know from you guys, what are your thoughts on contraception? How is it necessary for the country? And is it something that your peers or your friends actually think is a good idea, or is it actually a bad idea?
Well, I guess, well, for one, I think we have to recognize that, of course, I don't believe personally that there's such a thing as an unbiased media. Because by the mere fact that you're reporting, it means you're focusing on a particular perspective. And that's how the media is now. They want to portray that all the youth in this country is for contraception. When in fact, if you look at it, hindi naman yun yung kailangan ng mga kabataan. Yung kailangan ng mga kabataan are very simple things. That they get to enter into a good school, that they finish college. These are the things
and
that...
probably, obviously, employment.
And get good employment. But, of course, ang in-interview kasi usually ng media are the same groups which are that have already been brainwashed by the media. Like, say, certain leftist groups. And they think na yun lang yung kabataan. But, in fact, there are countless of youth who are not for that.
What about divorce, for example? I'm sure you've had friends whose parents are not together. Does that give you some sort of disappointment on the concept of marriage? Or does it parang turn you off on the idea of marriage? What do you say?
Sure. Ako, Jemy, personally, I look at divorce as an illegal drug. Yeah. I look at divorce as an illegal drug. It is something that eases pain temporarily, pero in the long run, it destroys and kills a life and destroys a relationship. It's more of self-centered excuses eh. Kasi kailangan may divorce to protect the woman. Kasi merong, for example, you have a husband who keeps on hitting his wife. So yung excuse ng woman kasi nga sinasaktan na siya, I'll have a divorce. But they don't look at the other individuals who are part of that relationship. It's not only the husband and the wife. What about the children? If you have divorce, paano naman yung bata? Diba? He'll be raised up in a broken family.
Yep. Jemima, I think
in addition with that, no, it's kasi parang nangyayari is parang, okay, yung couple, hindi sila magkasundo, parang yung divorce, pumapasok siya, parang as a license. For example, yung man, okay, now hindi ko na gusto sa'yo, now I want to marry someone else. No, but we have legal separation. That's why, when we talk of marriage, it's a very hard decision. When a guy asks you, coming from a girl's perspective, okay, for example, a guy asked me to marry him, I wouldn't just say yes, diba? Kasi I have to think that, it's gonna be for forever. So, whether magkasundo kami or hindi, dapat nasa utak ko na okay, it should be permanent, that hindi na, kahit mag-away kami, hindi ako dapat makag-asawa.
Okay, but could I ask, okay, fine, those are perfectly viable views, but wouldn't you say that, or could it be argued that, well, it's just you guys, perhaps your parents brought you up well, or perhaps your parents brought you up, your school brought you up in a certain amount of values. But would you say your views are representative of the rest of the youth, or would you say that there's a certain apathy outside the circle that you have, for example?
I don't think. Sorry, I don't think it's because I don't know any young person, especially those who know people who have parents who don't live with each other anymore, to say I think it would have been better if divorce was legal, because what's more important to them is the fact that they don't have a working family. Call it separation, call it divorce. The relationship was broken the same altogether. So that's just my opinion. I don't think or at least I haven't encountered anyone any young person who would think that maybe divorce would be good for this country, because maybe one day I'll be in a dysfunctional relationship and then think of copping out in the middle of it. Of course, I think it's
Well, you're looking more at the positive side of it and what could go right rather than what could go wrong.
I don't know any at least person who foresees that in the future.
Well,
Quickly, JV, and then
Okay.
Luke.
So I actually have I know people whose parents are separated or annulled. So I don't think that institutionalizing divorce will be a solution to an already broken family. Because what it does, it breeds complacency, and it rather lessens the responsibility of two individuals to discern if the other one is really the right person for him or her. So it actually breeds a series of wrong decisions, which cannot be rectified by breaking a sacrament. So there.
Okay. Well, I think I'll throw the last question to you. Well, okay, again, all the answers you gave are perfectly viable, and I quite admire the candor with which you gave your answers. But again, I think the inevitable accusation will be is that, well, what do you guys know, diba? You're just young. How do you respond to that?
Well, basically, based from experience, I've seen a lot of families go into a lot of problems, issues in life, but still they were able to solve those problems, and they were able to raise their children in a society with values and virtues. And also the role of social media, the internet, the technology should be highlighted here. Should be given merit.
Kumbaga, you have better sources of information.
Yes, we have better information.
Which is
nowadays.
probably true than more. I mean, I grew up without the internet, and the fact that my email nung araw probably took hours to download it. But it is quite true. It's unfortunate we don't have enough time to continue this discussion. No, but we're having class after this, so. But I'd like to perhaps give each one of you an opportunity to say whatever is in your mind, at least parting words for the audience. We'll start with with David.
Well, basically, we're young, not little, so don't belittle us.
And now you know why he's the one who came up with the title of the show. No,
I don't mean this to sound like a Hallmark greeting card, but never give up on the youth. So there.
And I don't mean to sound like a pastor or priest, but actually God, you cannot, some say you cannot enter the kingdom of God without having a heart of a child.
I agree with what JV said, but well, for my parting words, I really think that what we talked today was good, and I don't think that abortion and divorce is really what's the pressing issue in our society, especially for the youth. Give us jobs, give us a good education. That's what's pressing for us right now.
And for the youth, just think about all the decisions that you're going to make. Just think that when 10 years after, or 20 years, your own children will see you or will know your decision. So beware of that and just think of others too.
Well, I just have this one Latin quote in mind, which I really believe in. So it's very short. Ad astra per aspera, through the stars, to the stars, through difficulties.
And again, coming from Dr. Jose Rizal in his work Success de las Islas Filipinas, he said that the youth would be the catalyst of the future, which is true. We, the youth, should be aware that we should be that catalyst of development, sustainable development for our country and for the world.
Okay. Well, I don't think I can top that. Thank you very much all for joining us. This has actually been a very good show. And well, to all of you, I hope you can join us in our next episode. It will be about constitutional amendments, and we have very, very good guests for that one. And I hope you can join us then. Again, this is Jemy Gatdula for Naturang Batas, Likas na Tama. Thank you.